is it bright enough up front?
Yeah. I mean, can we have like a little fill in here so we can...
Yeah, that would be
You want
nice.
some fill? No.
Don't we have, where's that little lamp?
Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming again. It was dawning on me today that we've spent about a year talking about this book, Master Shantideva's. For those of you who have popped in and out, about a year in this room, just talking about popping in and out. Talking about this written piece of work on planet Earth that directs humans to make efforts to shift the most fundamental thing you can shift in order to change your entire reality. And that's pretty amazing. Who thought in your high school years that you would be studying a text, an ancient Tibetan text, right, translated from ancient India from 700 AD, and you actually know details about it that Tibetans don't know about at regular. You thought you were doing that? Good on you. Thank you very much. I didn't even know I was going to speak English. So, I didn't. So, the Three Jewels is a space where you can connect with the aspects of you that can bring you happiness, and hopefully ultimate happiness, a state of being that is beyond the cyclic existence of ups and downs of normal life. And we don't get a chance to do that in regular life much. So I invite you for the next couple of hours, whoever's listening inside that thing you call your body, and whoever's paying attention to that movement of consciousness you call your mind, whatever deep down in there part of you that believes that you can get ultimately at ease, at peace, content, enlightened, awakened, it is a possible thing. It is a possible thing. And whether you believe you can or not, then that part of you I'm talking to. The rest of you, the one that's busy having problems and getting lost in your problems, I'm also talking to them because they think they're going to find problems, solutions in here as well. Give room to your higher self, the part of you that is capable of shifting, the part of you that's fed up with the change. Give a couple of hours to them tonight. So in the normal Tibetan tradition, to do that, we make a Mandala Offering. We imagine a perfect world and offer it to whoever has figured out enlightenment and ask them for help. Not that they can help us, but just asking generates some help. So if you don't know it, it's okay. If you know it, pretend. Just imagine the most perfect universe you can imagine, and then imagine everyone getting there.
Sashi
Fukia Jikshim Metosham Viradin Shien Yende Padi Sande Shindu Miterwadi Roku Namda Shimla Shubasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamninyatayami
Sange
Shidam Sogi Chognanda Ujanshu Bardu Dakni Yasushi Raki Shenyengi Pesonanki Yola Panchir Sange Drupasho
Sange
Shiram Soki Shognanda Jamshu Bardu Dagni Japsushi Dagi Jinyengi Pesonanki Yola Panchir Sange Drupasho
Sange
Chiran Soki Shognamda Jamshu Bardu Dagni Jamsuchi Gapi Jenyen Gilbez Sonamki Drola Benshir Sangye Drupashto.
So take a comfortably seated position. We're going to do a short meditation to get our minds in a better place. If you haven't meditated before, you probably have. But the point is, get a comfortable posture, get a solid foundation with your the base of your body, your legs, and your bum hard on the cushion, solid on the cushion. Make sure that your spine is at ease but straight, like someone is pulling it up from the tip of your head, and you're sort of resting in this equilibrium between an upward movement and an downward movement. Make sure your shoulders are not slumped forward or back, that your neck isn't tense, and that you release any tension on your forehead and face, particularly around your lips. If you do a tiny smile, you'll notice the edges of your nostrils open up and your eyes relax. Your brow is very important. Just bring your attention there, and with your breath, just relax. Do a final scan of the sensations around you. You don't have to shut anything out. You just have to bring your awareness where you choose. So begin by choosing the room, sounds and movements, the sensation of your body. Allow your awareness to wander there. And then gradually bring your awareness to your body, what it feels like to be incarnate, the sensations of your flesh. And then finally bring your attention just naturally to how the breath is moving in and out of your body. Don't control it, just observe it as if it's the first time you've noticed it. Just let your mind follow the breath out and in through your nostrils. Just a few rounds of that until you get familiar with the rhythm. If your mind wanders to anything else, it's okay. See if you can feel good about noticing it wandered and bring it back gently to the breath. A little tighter on the breath now by trying to find the sensation right at the tip of your nostril. as the air exits and enters your nostrils. See if you can feel the difference in temperature or the tiny hairs there, the flow of air moving in and out. Whatever you can, just bring your focus right at that tip, just gently pressing your mind a little tighter just on the breath. Now I invite you to ask yourself whether or not you believe your mind is capable of changing. Do you have any evidence that your mind has changed over the time you've known your mind? Do you think it's possible that the mind can change for the better? That you can get either wiser or happier? Is it really possible to shift your mind to better? What do you think the limits of a human mind is? How better can it get? What's the ultimate better a mind can get? Once you've got an idea of that, do you think you can get a little bit more? See if you can generate in front of you a being that has evolved a mind to the ultimate extent, completely free of any suffering, completely loving, compassionate, and ultimately wise, knows exactly what to do and not to do without a doubt. However you imagine that being to be, see if you can picture them perfectly in front of you. And if that's difficult, see if you can sense their presence seated in front of you, facing you. They are just your mental idea of what they would look like. So you've got no rules. You are free to imagine them as fantastic, as tiny, as bright, as big as you like. See if you can hone in on their quality of compassion, a most evolved mind that is filled with complete unconditional love for anyone it looks upon. What would that feel like? See if you can imagine leaning into each other just a little. So you feel closer to them and vice versa. And just in your mind, which you can imagine they can read, ask them to please teach you and stay close to you. And however you like, imagine them completely happy to agree, and somehow enter the place where your heart is and stay there in their full potential. Take a nice comfortable breath in, and then when you're ready you can come back to the room. Thanks for doing that. If anyone had asked me to do that when I first entered the 3 jewels, I'm like, what's with all the hocus pocus? Please explain. It's a little weird for me, those things at the beginning. But when we're talking about emptiness, give me some synonyms for the word emptiness, which is like the most talked about word in Buddhism, even though it's not a thing. Give me a synonym for emptiness.
Diamond.
Diamond, potential, voidness, ultimate reality, wisdom, all these words. Whenever you, what did you say? Non-self. Great, yeah, no self. All these words you'll hear in commentaries, discussions, lectures, Buddhist books. They're all talking about this thing, which isn't even a thing. It's a lack of a thing. There's lots to talk about, because it's the one non-thing that is true of everything. Yeah? That doesn't sound Buddhist to you? Go to the other room. No. So we've been studying this book for about a year now, from Master Shantideva, 700 AD, in a place called Nalanda University, which was like the mecca of thought in the 700s. People from all over the world went there to debate logic and philosophy and reason, to get a glimpse at what is causing this world to do what the world does. And you lovely Westerners and me have been studying this for a year, and it's rare to get. You know, I was thinking about how precious it is to even have these ideas in your head and to understand them. So as I'm teaching the emptiness, I'm seeing the emptiness of the fact that you could be in the room and not get it. You could be in the room and get it. You might not even be in the room. You didn't make it to the room, you know? Like, what is it that caused this particular group of minds to land their mind for as long as you can on this concept that has the potential to shift absolutely everything without exception, from samsaric to nirvanic, from cycles of suffering or ups and downs. Suffering includes all the pleasures that go away in Buddhism, by the way, right? Every single thing that necessarily must end in a bad is not a good. So it's like every nominal happiness you can get here, all the beautiful custard pies that my gut enjoyed in this view are not goodnesses. They're black and white karmas. They end in suffering because I can't get any more, or they end in fat, which I can't get rid of. No. So we're talking about these different worlds: Nirvana, samsara. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. My job is to give you blah blah from Buddhist traditions. I'm not making anything up. I'll give you the lineage as it was passed down from the Buddha, like written down, annually retentive by all these beautiful beings. Your job is to say, this aspect of my life is awesome. How does that apply to this? How I can get more awesome? This aspect of my life sucks big time. How do I apply it to this aspect of my life so I can reverse it and make it awesome? Yeah. Ultimately, how can I make it all hyper awesome? If you're in a generous state of mind, you could think, if I could figure that out, my best friend has a sucky life too. Maybe I can figure it out and help them. This is called Mahayana. So, we talked about a bunch of proofs of emptiness. If this thing that we keep hearing over and over, what is emptiness and why is it necessary to prove it? Summary. Sorry.
I did the pen today with my lineage students.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Observe the object without trying to call it anything. Just what is it? In your mind, what comes up?
Okay.
Yeah? So, now, if a four-legged being walked into this room and we went like that to it, will it see what you saw?
No.
Will that thing pop in their mind that say pen?
No.
We know that for a fact, right?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. If no humans were in here and I went just like that to those four-legged things, what would this thing be?
A wolf.
Yeah? A chew toy for that animal thing. Right? If all the dogs walked out and all the animals, all the humans came in animals, and they saw this, they would call it?
Okay.
What is this though? If you remove all the humans and you remove all the animals and there was no one here except itself, what is it then? Because it can't be stick and it can't be pen at the same time from its own side over there. It's only pen when dogs come in, when humans come in, it's only chewable stick when dogs come in. I know you've heard it over and over, but you've got to get it, right? When nobody's looking at it, what's it from its side? What's it doing?
Plastic.
It's plastic. It's sitting there going, I'm plastic, I'm plastic, I'm plastic.
It's nothing, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, but there is something there. Do you agree?
Right, but it's only existing to some being that's perceiving it. So it's not existing unless someone perceives it.
So it's in relation to someone. It's interdependent, right? Great, good. Whew. A bunch of humans walk in, it's
Okay.
a bunch of dogs come in. While the humans are still there, it is
Chew toy.
chew toy. So we've
To
been
all of those
discussing.
beings, it's actually, I mean, regardless if they perceive it, it is plastic.
Is
You
it?
put a wood stick, you may not call it that, but the element of it is plastic.
It can't be plastic for a dog. Dogs don't know plastic.
It's not wood.
I didn't say it was wood. I said
For
it's
us.
chewable toy.
Right. For us, we label it plastic, but
That's
the
correct.
actual parts,
What makes you label it plastic?
the parts.
What are the parts made of?
I'm
So we did
good at
the,
chemistry.
the emptiness of one or many, right? We know that this by itself can be either or, right? Then we analyze the parts. Yeah, let's go find the plastic. From its own side plastic, okay? And a whale looks at this object floating in the thing and it calls it plastic.
Of course not.
Of course it doesn't.
Because
right?
plastic's a human word.
Okay, so what is it? Let's go find it. And we went all the way down to dividing it into the top of the pen and the bottom of the pen, or the top of the object and the bottom of the object. And we said that's what makes an object, right? This kind of object. It's got the dark and the light. Does every being that can look upon it see bright and light and dark?
No.
So does it have those parts? Does it have those parts if you don't have the beings?
No.
Right? It's hard to get your mind around it because it's so in your face. It's like there. It's like you're in the forest and like, where's the trees?
It's like having a pen in your
It's
eye.
it's so easy that it's so difficult.
But if a dog has it, or a human has it, or a whale has it, it's
Absolutely.
still, it won't function as water. It won't function as
Oh,
fire.
what if it's a micro, tiny thing that goes in between what we call atoms through this thing? What is it then? If there's the tiniest sentient thing that flows through it, is it plastic? Is it solid for them?
It depends on the perceiver.
Absolutely. It depends on the perceiver.
So-
So let's go down and dig deeper and deeper and deeper. This is just review. And let's go deeper and deeper and deeper and get to, we went in this first proof of emptiness, Master Shantideva gave us, let's find that one or many of the physical matter in our universe and the non-physical matter of our universe. Let's go find the substance, the raw data, which is what you're pointing to. There's got to be something, right? There's got to be raw data here, somewhere here. We've got to find it because we're talking about a bloody thing. We're not talking about nothing. So there's got to be raw data. We agree, right? And when you go looking for the raw data, just like when you went looking for the pen, you come up empty. You can't find a raw data that sits in this item, or in this part of the item, or in this part of the item, or in the part of the item. In fact, one of the crazy, beautiful Tibetan proofs of emptiness in regards to physical matter, not non-physical matter, is that necessarily any object must have at least two sides. Even if it's the tiniest particle, you can still divide it into the left of that tiny particle and to the right of that tiny particle. If you couldn't, if both those sides touched, it couldn't be physical matter. It disappeared, it goes zero. Right? So it must have. And that, you can go down infinitum. And that blew our mind at the beginning of this course, going, oh, hold on. There is something, we're talking about something. Yes, you're working with it. Of course it does. Can I stab me with it? Yeah, I can. Will it function? Absolutely. That's not what we're disputing. Our mind, so used to saying our world is exactly what we experience and nothing else, our biased mind is what causes us problem. The point of understanding this idea is to free us from the problems we put ourselves in, because we are biased and we think this ain't stick. This ain't just stick and pen, it's now plastic. And I'm going to prove that it's plastic, and I'm going to, like what I talked about last week, the keypad and the computer. I'm happy to think of the emptiness of the computer. I can see how a dog might see this as a keypad. Yeah? To me, it's a computer. Philosophically, I am at one with the keypad idea. As soon as the dog lifts its leg near my computer, it's no longer a keypad intellectually for me. I need to punch it in the face, because it will ruin my computer by thinking it's a keypad. It doesn't know it's a computer. Stupid dog, I win. It loses. Right? We cause problems in our worlds. My anger and frustration towards the dog isn't what got me the computer in the first place. If a computer is good and useful for me. Master Shantideva is inculcating a view that is the opposite of the view of samsara. You've got to get this. We've asserted over and over that the current view we operate in our world, my way of seeing the world is the way it is incomplete and dysfunctional. Incomplete, it doesn't explain everything. Remember the example of why did the lady on the left side of the car die and the one on the right didn't, and they had an accident, etc., etc. We say, because in our Western way of thinking, or modern way of thinking, we can't come up with an answer, it has no answer. That's incomplete. That's the most important answer. Why did my mum die? Everything else, the brain exploded. What caused my mum's brain to explode and not the other person's brain to explode? No cause, it's sort of random at that point. Well, things are either random or they're caused. An event is caused. If it's a changing thing, it's caused. What caused? It's too difficult, complicated, no cause in Western thinking. Big Bang Theory. At the beginning of everything, bang, And then we did this beautiful confliction of blah, 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 explain one another. We buy it every day. When you take an aspirin, you buy it. When you get a pay rise, you buy it. When you got lucky with a relationship, you buy it. When you got unlucky with a relationship, you buy it. Bang, something happened, no answer. Okay, I'm in the wheel, I'm running. These discussions, you've got to get it, okay? Because we're not going back on this topic. And we've spent time on it, and at the end of all the good states of mind he wants you to develop, the last one he says that you should color all the other things we've discussed is wisdom. So we've covered this. He says, when you go looking for the parts, from its own side, sitting in there, radiating isness, yeah? Penness coming from here, impossible. Chewable toyness coming from here onto everybody, impossible. Plastic, whatever plastic means, radiating from here to every being that looked at it, impossible. If it was plastic from its own side, then I put it in front of Martians and it must say plastic. Pen. Not pea toy. Whatever pea thing. So we did that as the emptiness of one or many. I'm just doing a review because I really want to get to a couple of things. We did the emptiness of objects. Yeah, we covered them. Keep your questions for the break. Sorry, there's so much to cover today. Yeah. We did objects. Objects in Buddhism also don't just mean physical things like we just covered. Your mind is an object of perception. Your feelings are objects of perception. Your emotions are objects of perception. Like the pen, your mind, your feelings, your thoughts don't have a nature of being mind the way you think mind is. It's a little harder than physical, but we went there. And don't have a nature of their own, going, my human mind is a human mind. It ain't like that. It's changed. You did it in the meditation. Has your mind changed in the last 5 seconds? Yeah, you're probably all pissed off with me because I'm not letting you ask questions. You've got to get this. Please get this. Everything, without exception, has emptiness as its ultimate nature. There's two realities working here. The one that you are forced to perceive and you believe is true, pen or not pen, mind or some other way of perceiving my mind, humanness and non-humanness, these things are changing. Changing things end. Changing things end in samsara because they are caused. If you haven't noticed, every single thing on this planet is on a downward spiral. I'm not there to scare you, I'm there to point to it. Everything you have is ending. If you don't understand what caused it, you can't stop the ending. Important, really important. So, to illustrate that really simple fact, we use really simple ideas, the pen. But it's so difficult because we can't see it. It's not the way we are used to living our world. So Master Shantideva gave us in the last few chapters the emptiness of objects. You have to understand it to whatever degree you have. He went more subtle. He said objects include your mind. Your mind isn't self-existently the way you think it is. It doesn't catch information by its own nature. You've produced certain forces to allow your mind to be a human mind, and that will end. But it won't stop. Mind doesn't end. The flavor of the mind ends. The way you see your mind ends. Matter doesn't end. You know that. But this ain't going to be a pen in 1,000 years, nor a chewable toy, nor plastic. So we got that. Matter, objects, don't have a nature of their own. What would a and the thing we're denying, the things that things are empty of, is that nature of their own, a self nature, some kind of nature that comes over here and radiates equally to everybody that perceives it. Nothing has that nature. So then where do things come from? Why do I enjoy a pen and why does someone not enjoy a pen? Why does this feel good and that feel bad? And that means dependent arising. Things are dependent on the being experiencing it. We know that. But I didn't choose pen when you went like that. It just came, pen. And dog did not choose chewable toy. It just came, chewable toy. That's a caused event. If you can find out the causes, you can change the perception of pen to something greater, bigger, smaller, different, just as different as the chewable toy is to the pen for the dog and to you. You can see this as an instrument for freedom if you have the impulse to see it that way. You've got to know how to do that. Then every object can have that potential. That's why we're talking about emptiness. We think, and then we talked about the sliver of reasoning, which he used to illustrate that the same thing we've just talked about here is true for causation. The fact that things are causing each other. I think we perceive things causing each other. And we're about to go a little deeper in that. We think food, which I struggle to put the hamburger and fries there as food. Food comes from money. We really do. We work money, put it in our pockets, we go up to the shop, we give it to them, and we get food. And we think food comes from money. Right? Sliver of proof. When you analyze it, it's an impossible thing. It's a gotcha. What would money that caused food look like? Self-existently caused food, meaning when I pulled out the cash, it always necessarily gave me food, right? Money that produced food must necessarily always produce food. Even if I walked up to the counter and dropped the bill, heart attack, food would still appear. Because food is caused by money, we think. Right? In the sliver of diamond, he began to challenge the idea that even causation is still something imposed upon by our minds on a sequence of events. Even the sequence is empty of having a nature of sequence. He's going deeper. This is the part of the chapter in the story of Master Shantideva reciting this text in one sitting to 1,500 something monks, where he was claimed to have been floating off into the air and disappearing. You can take that for real, or you can take that as a metaphor that nobody understood what the hell he was talking about. He's gone, what is the emptiness of causation? The fact that things produce each other in the way you think they produce each other ain't that way. So he talked about the emptiness of objects, the emptiness of causation. Money that produced food must always produce food. The fact that we can't always get food when we have money proves really simply that money ain't the cause of food. Some people have a ton of money, can't get food. Some people, they can't get sustenance. Imagine you've got some kind of problem, you've got a ton of money, you can't get food. Some people have no money to get food. That's the proof. There's no other proof needed. It's really simple. If something produces something, if that's the thing that produced it, then that thing must always produce it. If it doesn't always produce it, that's not the cause. And we, in this human existence, are pushing around what we believe are self-existent causes for things, doing things to each other to get it, for me to have more than you have. And we don't recognize that what we're recording in our mind, in our consciousness as we do that, is the actual thing that will remove the thing we want in the first place. We compete against each other for jobs, for money, for attention, for all sorts of things, just to get the things that we think come from these causes. Master Shantideva says it ain't even that, it was never that way anyway. You're wasting your time. You could never get food from money. Because if you did, you don't always have to get food from money, and you don't always get food from money, so food must come from something else. And his answer in all the previous chapters is, whatever you want, give it away to others. The only way you ever got food is because you fed others. That is an unbreakable law. That you can bank. That you can't even refute philosophically. You can say, yes, but I've given food to others and then I didn't get food next week. And you remember Master Shantideva's answering that? So you can't say you tried once and produced the causes for food. Every action you take must have an equal and opposite reaction. If you gave food, you must get food. If you didn't get food, that proves you didn't give food. And you've got to get your head around that, because there's a time delay between planting the cause, giving what you want out of life, and experiencing the result. You don't get a flower in the millisecond you put in the seed. We'll get to talk about that today. Today we're going to talk about the denial that things which exist and do not exist could arise.
Sorry, Hector.
Yep.
Can I get my chew
No.
toy?
Here we go. We talked about the dependent origination proof last week. Actually, give me some more proofs that money don't cause food. Is there some substance in here that produces wealth or food or whatever the hell you think this thing produces?
No.
Can I have a stack of this and take it to an island in the middle of nowhere and ask for shelter?
No.
It's only where the places where people have the karma to project value onto this thing like we have. And we found our group of people that put value on this. Rewind 1,000 years. If you landed on the planet with this very item 1,000 years ago, how much money can it get you? How many foods can you get from this 1,000 years ago? Fast forward 1,000 years from now. This item,
Maybe one.
it
friend.
depends, maybe vintage, very expensive. No. You got to think this way. What makes it valuable now? We're not saying it's not valuable, by the way. We're not saying you don't get food from giving.
You don't not get food from money.
Thank you. Do not get food from money. Thank you. Yeah? What makes it valuable? What could possibly make it valuable?
Or
We
share
all
a
agree
card.
it's valuable.
Yeah? We all share in the value. Yeah? Why does it go up and down? There are causes that change. And we had last week the 3 different interpretations of the things that change, and you can have causes and conditions, parts, or ultimately is our perception of this thing is what gives it value. And you don't have much choice about our collective perception of this. Just like when I held up the object, you went pen. When I hold this up, you think money. You think it's worth something. You live by the fact that you go to a restaurant and you're going to get good food if you pay a lot of money. And sometimes you go to a good restaurant, pay a lot of money, and you get really shitty food.
Yeah.
And you can't complain to anyone because the person next door is having a good experience, and your karma, something in you produced that thing, and you think it's the restaurant. So you're going to complain and punch somebody in the restaurant and just cause more frustration in your world. That's what samsara is pointing to. This is the point of talking about emptiness. It's not saying that things don't exist. It's one of the mistakes of talking about emptiness, that things say, oh, if it's not money, then I don't need it. Not true, you need it. You actually need to work and earn money, and you're living in this world where we have this shared reality. But if you understand where it came from, you can make $1 turn into $1,000, or it's spread value like no tomorrow. If you don't understand where it comes from, you can enjoy the wealth that you developed sometime before, and when it runs out, you've got zero idea of how to regenerate it. And money's just words. What about health? What about consciousness? What about intellect? What about friendships? What about your identity? What about your moral code? Everything, without exception, is empty of having a nature of its own. All of it is cause. That's why the Tibetans say, you're so bloody lucky to be human, because imagine the causes that had to come together for you to experience a body and a mind and a kindness and a lovingness and a communicationness that we have as humans. So precious. If you just lined up all the conscious beings on the planet and put them down on a platter and pulled out all the beings that had all the human qualities, they could speak to each other. They could be kind to each other. They had movable parts. They didn't have to think about breathing. Humans, out of the entire collection of beings on the planet, it's pretty awesome. The mind we have and the capacity to utilize it, incredible. All running out if you don't know where it came from. So, tonight we're going to talk about proof of stopping. I'm going through it quickly. He puts it in a syllogism. So we talked about the objects are empty. Physical stuff is empty, meaning you can't find a nature in the money that will always produce what you want. There's no nature in it that will produce wealth or food or whatever. There's nothing in this projecting to everybody that looked at it that shared the same value. You get that, right? Great. So he said the objects are like that. Mental objects are like that. Feelings, consciousness, etc. Courses are like that. When you go looking at what moved this to that, the fact that we perceive things causing each other self-existently, if I put this, that will come out. Does a seed always cause a sprout? So so it's incomplete. What's required to get a sprout?
Water, soil, sunlight.
Do you always get a sprout when you put water, soil, sunlight? We're challenging what we've been saying earlier on. 100% of the time, you get a seed, you put that on the ground, you put the perfect combination of soil. You do? It's more subtle. It's harder for us to grasp. We want to say yes. We know a part of us says there's got to be a chance that maybe it won't sprout. What makes it sprout? It's the perceiver forced to have an experience of a sprout. It ain't a sprout by itself. It can't be a sprout. It's like the pen. Now, why are we talking about sprouts and dogs and things? Because your life is like this. Master Shantideva is saying your life is like this. The Buddha said your life is like this. You think you're born just for no reason? Sperm and egg together and then you got you? You think this particular shape of you was just no reason? You think your own mental problems have no reason? If you think the reason is your mom, your dad, your environment, you're limited. It's the pen. It's deeper than that. You're having your own perception upon a random set of mental events or physical things that you can't put together, and you're calling it Hector's mind. Today's happy, today's unhappy. I've got no idea how to make it in the moment, do what I want. Who wants to wake up happy every morning? Like really jump out of bed and go, oh my God, this is going to be awesome, right? Who can do it? Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Try is a different thing. If you can tell me you can force your mind to do that at 7 a.m., then you're enlightened or something, or you got lucky. Now, you could have guessed and you could have done it, but the fact that we don't know, the fact that you admitted you don't know, opens you up for learning that there's a possibility. If you pretend, I've got it good enough. It was one of my problems with Australia, living in Australia. I have it good enough in Australia. Things are perfect over there. It's beautiful sun, like blue sky. People are pushing out strollers, mowing the lawn at 7, 8, 9 a.m. It's a good life. All of them, like if you just go to the cemetery, you see all the other people that had good lives. It was scary good life. It's more than this life. This life expires. This life expires. So, we said, objects are empty. Courses are empty. And now he says, what you think you get out of those courses are also empty. Empty means they don't have a nature of their own. They depend on your perception forced upon you by your past behavior, your past karma. What you said, thought, and did towards the world that you live in. That records in your being. And that projects your entire existence. it seems weird to us. If you see this view, you'll understand why it's complete and functional. One of the functioning things about this planet is that every being needs to get some kind of meaning and happiness. Everyone's striving for it on the planet. We get in our cars, in our subways, we do everything to try and get happy. Remove the discomfort of unhappiness. We move our bodies, we crawl it out of bed, we shower it so it doesn't smell. I don't want the smell. I want to look pretty, put lipstick on. I like lipstick. We want something because we think it'll make us happy. We get so lost in the things that we're doing, we forget the primal reason for doing things. Things that achieve that goal are functional. Things that don't achieve that goal are dysfunctional. We sell our time. I did it for 15 years. We sell our time day in, day out for things without meaning, hour after hour, day after day for this stuff, because we think this stuff will get us what we want. It does get us what we want, right? Who's been in a job, really well-paying job, and was unhappy? Who's been in a really shitty paying job and was happy? Who was in a really shitty job and was unhappy? Let's not miss it. Who was in a really good paying job and was happy? Did it come from the job? You see, something in you changed. You're changing all the time and you don't know how to control it. We sell our time. The earth goes around the sun over and over and over with breaths coming in and out of your body that you can never get back for these things that we think will make us happy. And when you're said and done, all the things you did that are recorded in you, no big bearded guy recording, just you. It's in you, your DNA. You know where you screwed up. You know where you cheated people, you lied to people, you hurt people, potentially ruined people. You know where you cared for people, were kind to people, silently generous to people. It's in you. It goes into the goalkeeper. That's producing your world. If you make that the course, then not a problem. If day in, day out you do this, because if I just do a white lie to that guy and I'm getting the promotion versus her, that thing can never get you more of this. Impossible. Because that was a negative thing in your mind towards the world, and then it must necessarily come out, like when you put something in the ground. Now we'll get to that, sorry. I'll do this quickly. When you see that, it means quiz question. I'll go with this quick and then I'll go it again, okay? Master Shantideva, to refute the fact that you can ever produce a result, says these four things are impossible, yeah? Consider the things which are results. Now, your life is a result. Your bank account is a result. Your health is a result. Your well-being is a result. Your relationship is a result. Whether you die is a result. Yeah? A sprout is also a result, or a corn thing. Yeah? So, consider things which are results. They do not grow or don't come up in an ultimate way, because results which exist at the time of their course do not grow in an ultimate way. What's he saying there? I know, this is first of all translated from the Sanskrit, then to the Tibetan, now to the English.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, it's up there. You want me to say it?
Okay. Does that mean that, like, the hamburger and the money thing?
Let's go hamburger and money. Yeah, I'm putting seed and corn, right?
Right. So hamburger doesn't come from money. If it does come from money,
must always
not,
get.
It's
This is
not
going.
the ultimate way.
Let's find where the result came from. He's saying, where did the burger came from? If we said maybe it didn't come from the money, he's saying, where did it come from? So he says, could a result ever come from something that existed at the same time you put the course in? So you have the seed in your hand. Is the result, meaning the corn plant, existing at the very same time you're holding the corn seed in your hand? That's what he's asking.
No.
He says that's impossible. right? So we're saying this thing had to come from somewhere, he's saying, right? We think it comes from there, right? Well, let's find it. Let's grab this and go right now. Is that inside here right now? Is the result, meaning a full-grown plant, there at the very same time? It's a stupid question, right? No. We'll cover it. He also says it's not true that this does not exist when you're holding this now.
Right. The potentiality.
Wait for it. You should all be looking at me weird. He's saying this does not exist when you're holding this now. The result is not there when you've got the seed.
Right.
He says that's not possible. We said, what? Right? You should go.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then he says two more things to cover all bases and then everything is covered. He says, it's not the first two combined either. It's not there and not there. You can't say that that is there and not there at exactly the same time as you're holding the seed. That's what he's saying. You follow? Not yes.
Yes.
And then he's saying, I'll cover them again. He's saying the result can also not be neither of those, meaning it's got to come from somewhere. You can't say that it's not from there and not from there. It's got to come from somewhere. I'll do it slower. Lucky I prepared it earlier. Here we go. Let's go slow. Substitute cause for the thing you find to get you happy and the result for your happiness, okay? In the now, in the moment, he's saying causes can't give a result which exists at the time of the result. Are you following?
Yes.
It's important you get this because it's saying that if we've covered this, we've covered that there is no self-existent objects, there's no production of self-existent objects, and it can't ever be a result of an object. You can't turn into something. And if you've covered that, there's nothing else. He's proven emptiness in every corner, and your feet should just have lifted off the ground by the end of this chapter and gone, I've got no ground, I better figure out where this is, how this can make my world functional. Because when you drop the ground, you dropped all the things that didn't work for you too. Okay, so the first of the proofs, he says, causes can't give a result which exists at the same time as the cause. That's all. That's pretty okay, right?
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes.
There's no fully grown plant of corn when you're holding the seed that grew that corn. Fair?
Yes.
Can I scratch it out?
Yeah.
Yeah? So it's not inside there somewhere, right? That goes very tight. So scratch it out.
So it's like if someone punches you in the face, the hurt isn't existing at the same time.
As before the potential of the intent to punch me, the hurt didn't come from the intent to punch me, assuming that's the cause. You got angry at me to punch me. As soon as you got angry at me, I felt the punch before you moved your hand. Yeah, I mean, you can use it in any kind of extrapolation. But let's scratch the four things we should come up with now. The second one we said was a little tricky, right? We had this before and after. He says, Master Shantideva, quoting Ari Nagarjuna, says causes can't give a result which do not exist at the time of the cause. Is that true? Think about it. Does the corn plant come? Is the corn plant there not at the time of the thing, of the cause? Here's the cause, the seed. Yeah? Think about it. He says you can't have a plant which is not there at the time of the seed.
Which
He
is
says
not
that.
there.
But is a result of the seed. Wait, you can't say it again. You can't have a plant.
You can't
It's
have
a double
a
negative.
plant, a result, which does not exist at the time of the seed of the cause. I circled it red because I have a problem with that. We
So you-
operate
you're
that way.
speaking about potential.
It means that the seed comes from the plant.
No, it means the plant comes from the seed.
About the karma that it's already planted in the perceiver's mind.
You're going too deep now. We're talking to people that think life is self-existent. He's proving the lack of self-existence. So rewind a little bit. You've studied it a bit. Do you think corn plants are not there when you have a seed?
Yes.
Yeah, you do think that. That's why I circled it red. I think that too.
But then we still think
Well,
that
but-
they're going to come from the seed, and that's
We
what
think it's coming from the seed, right? Master Shantideva says, that's impossible. I'll return to that one, okay? Let me kill the other two, and then we'll only have to fight
Can
this
you not
one.
use this corn plant thing?
No, impossible.
Because that's so confusing to me.
Well, where does corn come from? Where does a plant of corn
A
come
seed.
From a
Well,
lab.
that a kernel, right? That's
Right.
what that is.
Yeah.
So that's why I use it. So we think that comes from that.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The first one said that could never come from that at the same time that you have that.
Right, I
Impossible.
agree.
That's stupid, right?
agree.
We agree with Mr. Shantideva. It's stupid.
So what's this one?
This one is saying that cannot be there after this. We say yes, it can.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I circled the red. He's saying this is authority on emptiness. He's saying no, that's impossible. So I put a question mark on it, so we all disagree together.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll go back to it. Yeah, I agree. We should have a problem with it. I'm glad you have a problem with it.
Now
Yeah.
I
If you
understand.
didn't have a problem with it, it'd be a problem. Now, see, I didn't scratch it out. Okay. The third one was causes can't give a result which both do and do not exist at the time of the cause. That's true. You can't have something, some plant at the same time that you planted the seed and not at the same time. It's at the same time. You can't have them both on the seed. Do you agree or not?
Yes.
He's just covering all bases to make sure that we got no refutation to him. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's like a retarded. Yeah? He's like, you can't go back in time and forward in time at the same time. Yeah? That's all he's saying. And we agree. We're like, yeah, we do. And then he goes, there, that's the thing. You can't have it inside at the same time and later at the same time. So we scratched that out. That was stupid. And then he says, you also, causes can't give a result which are neither of the above. Meaning they didn't come from anywhere.
Right.
He's saying you can't have things coming from nowhere. That's, you can't have them just, ta-da, I'm a corn plant. They gotta come from something. That's what that last one is. Do you agree that that's true? Yeah? Good. So we'll get rid of that one. Okay. This one we have a problem with, right? We do think the plant comes from the seed. After the seed. We agree the plant isn't there when you have the seed in your hand. We know. You put it in the ground, then this plant comes out of that seed, right?
But the seed also comes from the plant. You have to have a plant to get a seed.
Yes, that's true. Assuming we did that.
But not
Yeah.
always you have a seed and the plant is there.
Good.
Like we just said, we plant the seed and there's not always
Good,
a
good,
plant.
good. Yeah, you're thinking ahead. Good.
Sorry.
Are you all lost, nice and asleep? Good. Let's go back to that one. I hope I'm keeping to track with what I'm supposed to tell you.
Is it basically talking about the way we think things arise along time?
Yeah. It's saying, how do you think results come? He first of all went, how do you think things are? How do you think things are? Like a pen. They're not like that. How do you think subtle things are? Like your mind, your thoughts. They're not like that. You're not just like that just because. It's actually something, some other force imposing itself on you. And you have control of that force if you know what it is. They call it karma. You can call it pretend, whatever you want to call it. Dependently arising. It arises in dependence of your projections. Yeah? Forced upon you. That's some impulse from before. Now he's saying there's no causation the way you think things are caused.
Yeah. Before it was for static.
Yeah, and now it's for moving things over time. Very subtle, much deeper. That he's killing every single hole that we have to the world being the way we think it is. So he's killed objects. He's killed subtle objects. They're not. Nothing is self-existent. We went through the proofs. He's killed courses of objects. Things don't cause each other the way you think they cause each other. They do if you add the force of your mind perceiving it as this or that. He didn't say that's not true. He said self-existently things are uncaused just by itself. And now he's saying things aren't produced. They don't result from things like that. It's the other end of causation. Yeah, he's getting rid of everything, and then he'll do one more at the end. So we come back to this second argument. He says, I'll ask it a different way. Can you have a result which was not there at the time of the cause?
Yes.
Yes, you can, right? We think so. He says no. So what's he mean? And I think Javier was close. He's talking about a self-existent result that would necessarily come, a corn plant that was a corn plant from its own side, projecting cornness onto every object that must always necessarily come from the seed. Impossible. That requires some other energy to perceive it as a corn plant coming out of it. He's saying there's no self-existent production, there's no self-existent causation, there's no self-existent object, plant, or perceiver. Because he was refuting self-existent objects. Yeah? He's saying that thing you grasp to, the money that could possibly always give you food, you think that, you fight people for that. Let's see how honest you can be, right? Who has done a bad thing at work, cheated someone, lied to someone in their face, yeah? Connived behind someone's back to try and get more of this stuff in your pocket, in your lifetime? Who's done it? Yeah? Where do you think that impulse goes?
To my bank account.
Really, where do you think that goes? It's with you. You didn't deposit it somewhere. You've got it in your heart. You know how I know? You just remembered it. Didn't go away. It's multiplying. Give you chills. Everything is like that. You can't have money if you've cheated someone from money.
But
Assuming
you can't
you like
not
money.
have money necessarily.
How do you mean?
Because it does function in the way I hate if I'm being the contrary person, but it does function, and at the time it did function in that way.
Yeah, no problem.
People,
How
so
did it
doesn't
function?
not function that way.
Correct. You can't go to the extent of it doesn't work at all. Yeah?
Right.
But
So
if you
some level there's a perception that that cause does bring about that result.
Of
Because
course.
people do it in some collective fashion, and it does bring about that result sometimes.
For everyone?
No, but it
So is that the cause?
not
So what
necessarily.
produced it?
Not ultimately.
Not ultimately, but it's also not the cause.
I agree. Well, it's not the cause. Now, a cause must always give you a result. It could be a condition, it could be a secondary factor. I agree with you, no problem.
How do we know it doesn't produce that? Because like, if there's a time lapse, right?
Yeah, I don't know your question.
Well, if there's a time lapse, then what he's saying, like doing the opposite, maybe brings you money. You never know what the connection is.
No, you do know. Yeah, you do know.
So maybe cheating someone at work, like 5 years from now, is going to bring you money.
Impossible.
How do we know that that doesn't happen?
Trial and error, right?
Well,
First
I
of all,
don't have
you
a
have to
idea.
have. We'll get to it at the end of class. It's a good question. Okay, how do you know? Okay, because if you're going to take the ground from under me, how do I know? Yeah. So first of all, like produces like. Like we figured that out in nature. Pretty much, that's true. Light produces light.
This is what we're denying.
Huh?
Right? We're denying this.
No, he's denying that it's self-existently that way. He says these functions. We're talking about a corn plant that came from a kernel. We're not talking about a banana tree that came from a kernel.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
So it does function. Don't get distracted by the philosophy of it. Yes, corn plants come from corn, but not always and not self-existently. It requires another energy, and you bring that energy from you. People that have really shitty karma can plant as much corn as they like, and I've been in Nepal and I know that's true. They will not get corn plants that give fruit. Impossible.
Yeah, but karma isn't shitty or good.
Huh?
Karma isn't necessarily bad or good.
Well, karma is, there are three flavors: positive, negative, and neutral. Okay, you could broadly categorize them as that. Karma, if you did course 5, is the movement of the mind. Yeah, and if your mind moved and experienced porn as a good thing, it's a good karma for you. Yeah, if it just moved and you tasted and there was rotting, disgusting maggots in it, and for you don't like maggots, it was a bad karma. And if it was just like you're just eating without thinking, it's a neutral karma. Movement of the mind. I'm having a shift in perceptions. Yeah, not consciously or anything like that, like my world is shifting. If it's positive, healing for you, it's a good karma. We call it a good karma. If it's negative in nature, it's bad karma. If it's neutral, it's neutral. And about causation, good can only come from good. Bad can only come from good. You can use those tools. Yeah.
How do you explain Donald Trump?
The whole.
Donald Trump.
I can't explain Donald Trump. Let's play with
that's where the theory just goes down.
Yeah. No.
No, the Republican Party got itself back. It's very clear.
Yeah. I'm happy to debate that one in the break. Yeah, but it's a good question because you're basically asking how can shitty people get good results.
Well, it just perceives that he puts out a lot of negativity, if you will.
Yep. Yeah, no, of course. And then it answers begs the question: how can good people get crappy lives and bad people get good lives, and so on? Yeah, we'll cover it. Happy to cover it. Yeah.
It's mixed karma.
But does that go back to the idea that money creates happiness, which it doesn't?
It doesn't. It doesn't. Sorry, I didn't make sure that everybody got that. Did you all get that or not?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I don't get the connection. Like, I got what you were saying after, but I don't understand the connection between what that says there and then what you were just talking about.
That and the result.
I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand. Causes can't give results which do not exist.
Causes cannot give results self-existent results which do not exist at the time of the cause.
Okay.
I'll give you 2 more explanations from Master Shantideva just in case we didn't get it. Right? The first one is, why did Master Shantideva say that? Yeah? And I'll give you a couple of explanations. His explanation is that when someone asked him that question in the debate, he says, you can't have a changing thing which gives an unchanging thing. That was his answer to your question to someone. And if you're not studied in Buddhist thought, you think, well, what's that got to do with eggs? Yeah? What is he saying when he's saying a cause could not give rise to an unchanging thing?
Unchanging things. Wait,
Huh?
no, they do exist, sorry.
They're not caused.
Unchanging things cannot be caused. He's implying the self-existent nature by saying an unchanging thing. You think a corn plant is a corn plant by itself. You really think that. We all think that. He's saying that kind of corn plant did not come out of that seed.
Right.
But why is he making the inference then that that things which do not exist cannot be caused, because are non-existent things necessarily unchanging?
No, he's talking about the gaccha. He's saying a non-existent thing is like a 2-headed purple elephant. An unchanging thing which does not exist is the gaccha, is the thing we deny. He's saying to the opponent, when you question me about number 2, of course there's a corn plant at the end of time when I plant enough seeds. He says not the way you think of them. Not a corn plant that could be a corn plant from its own side that could come from this particular seed. Impossible. Because he's saying you're all thinking corn plants are corn plants out there and they come from seeds out there. He says that not true. He's refuting that idea. The reason it hurts your head is because you're being challenged because you think that. You think, okay, if I get enough corn seeds, I'm definitely always 1,000,000% correct getting a corn plant, and that's not true.
I mean, you could if I'm not, if I'm correct, you can say, you can use examples that we were talking about earlier about either the dog or whatever with this thing as one side, and then on the other side you can use the example of, you know, you can throw out 1,000 seeds and you're not going to get 1,000 plants. You know, some are not going to rise.
It's more than that.
It's more than that, yeah. But again, the first part is what I meant when in terms of it being more than that, is that if it were that way, anything that perceived it would see it that way too.
Absolutely.
Like the dog or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
Everyone must see the corn plant
Coming
as a
from,
corn plant coming
and
from
the fact
yeah.
that when you put a seed, a dog
Yeah.
putting a seed in the ground, it
Correct.
should get.
Yeah, that's good.
Is it sort of like the process of it? Because in a sense, like he's talking about, like we see things as a static thing,
Yeah.
right? We don't see them as changing
Yeah,
or not
yeah,
changing.
yeah.
So like, if you look at a river, we say river.
We say a river.
One thing.
Yeah.
It's like one mass that we
Of
draw.
flowing things.
But water doesn't make a river, right? You know what I mean? Like so,
Sure,
it's
sure.
so it's sort of like that. So it can't be that a seed can make
Exactly.
this kind of result, because this result is not static.
No, it's not that it's not
I mean,
static.
when
It's
I
that
mean,
this
like,
result
it's-
is dependent on a perceiver that has the karma to perceive that result.
Right. Okay.
This result of what we call a corn plant is dependent on beings calling it a corn plant. Because when you ask the question, when she asked the question, I don't understand why number 2, and he gave this answer, he gave an obscure answer. He goes, you can't have an unchanging thing come from a changing thing. You can't have a static thing that came from causes and conditions that were changing. Let's say this was self-existent money, right? So what is self-existent money? Describe me the gotcha. What is a money that is self-existent? Let's say money produces hamburgers, okay?
A dog can take that into McDonald's and walk out with
Because
it.
this produces the hamburger, right?
Right.
Right. That's self-existent money. That doesn't exist, right? That's the gotcha. Not only does that not exist, that whole idea never existed anyway. That's why we're calling it a purple two-headed elephant. Because there ain't no such thing that ever could have been that way. There's nothing like that. Even emptiness is empty. There ain't no thing which has a self nature that must always necessarily produce that result. But we think things do, and so we punch each other to get them.
So then aren't even perfections empty of being perfections?
Of course they are.
Everything is empty.
But they still function. They still function. We'll get to it at the end. You have to get to this very discomfortable place, which I made up a word, and then you speak another language which is not the English, and slowly nos degeneramos en español, y pronto hablamos un montón de cosas, and all of a sudden we don't understand what we're talking about. Did I change that karma for everybody, or did you change it?
I did.
So Master Shantideva in these 2 things says to the opponent, what I'm talking about, number 2, when we're going to find out where things really come from, where they come from, is that you're never gonna find that thing that is corn plant, the way you think of corn plant, coming out of that thing. Because it requires this extra force called your karma, the perceiver, that it requires the dog or the thing. It's just like the pen.
I think that eventually at some point you can begin to see
What?
karmic influences moving forward and back.
Yeah, it's called Buddhahood. Yeah, you can see all causation. Of course you can. But is that way? See, if you ask yourself, what's Nirvana? What's a mind of a Buddha? Is a mind of a Buddha changing or unchanging? It's a changing thing, right? It changes, right? So if they're having an experience, they're having a mind. Yeah? If you think of my schmucky mind, and then your schmucky mind, and then turning it into a Buddha mind, what's a nirvanic mind? Nirvanic mind means a mind not from its own nature, that its causes and conditions, the karmas, the forces that are forcing you to perceive your mind the way you perceive your mind, have shifted. You now have seeds in your mind to perceive the movement of your mind without any afflictions whatsoever. Not a single moment of negativity. Nothing hurts you. There is no state of mind in you. You not only have that, you have a permanent cessation of that. You have a movement of mind, a shift of karma, that perceives this mind perceiving everything permanently without suffering. It's just something forced upon you by your own projections through the karma that you've done. There ain't no Buddha sitting out there separate from you like a plank of corn that is by itself a Buddha that way. It requires a Buddha's mind for themselves must require their own perception of that mind, and that perception is pure. The big question comes, how do you not degenerate from that state, right, if it's changing? We'll get to it too. He's talking about self-existent stuff here. Do you get this? Is that okay for number 2? Do you accept it, or can you have it in your head and uncomfortable enough to move on? Thank you. Why the hell did Master Shantideva go into these things? And then after this we'll take a quick break, okay? And he was refuting 2 wrong views. Let's see if I've got them here. No. 2 wrong views at the time. And one was the Sankhyas, which were called the numerous school. And they believed that results existed at the time of the cause. They sort of believed number 1, meaning they had this philosophy that there's this duality of consciousness and matter, and that there was this sort of revealing process that occurred as consciousness woke up to itself, and that this 26, 27 factors of things that would be revealed, but the course, the results were always there even while the course was happening, right? So Master Shantideva was refuting that in this example. He was talking to them. And what's interesting about that proof number 1, remember proof number 1 or not?
Yeah.
That you could have a corn plant at the same time as the corn seed, right? That the result of the corn seed was there while the corn seed was in your hand, before you put it in the ground. Yeah, we said that was stupid, but Master Shantideva was putting that in there to refute this thinking that there is a thinking in humans at the time that said, well, I believe things are there already, like a potential, and all they need to do is unveiling, and then ta-da, you have corn plants. And that sounds like a Judeo-Christian belief system, to be honest, right? When I learned about how the world was created, that's why I put day 0 versus 7 days, right? And on the first day, he said, let there be light. Yeah?
Let there be corn.
Let there be corn. And then, but he made everything. But he was there, right? On day 0, where was he?
There.
Yeah? He was like sitting there going, was I there before I make this place? Can he be there before he created himself? If he's one of everything, if he's one aspect of everything, I am talking about a creator God that could have been there before he created everything. I am talking about that. We believe that. And if you're not religious that way, and I'm not knocking religion, okay? I'm just knocking our state of mind that could think a stupid thing, and because everybody else believes a stupid thing, we follow it and we are quiet about it, and then we live our lives through it.
But I'm not knocking it.
No, but
It
it's not
seems
knocking
similar
it.
to the belief that the result of a karmic seed is implicit in the karmic seed. Is that a different argument, or is it the same argument?
We can talk about that, but it's a different argument altogether. We don't think that there is a self-existent result in a karmic seed. You see yourself doing virtue, which is imposed on you on your past karma, and that virtue is empty, but you do see yourself functioning. It's sort of arguing Nick's point. So we don't think there's a self-existent goodness in everything, but that in the current moment you know what functions as good, and if you don't function within that realm, you're going to have a valid perception that you did something horrible. If you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So the Big Bang is like this too, right? in the beginning there was that being, right? We are happy in our worlds. In our worldview, we want things to start, and then we want things to grow and stay solid. We don't like them ending, unless we don't like them. But we have a very weird view of the world, and I think much of it is comes from we don't question. Like, we don't question these things in school. We don't question these things amongst each other. And it's the very basis and the fabric by which we live our lives. And because every other thing on the planet, 7 billion other people are happily doing this and running businesses like this, we think it must be okay. And so there's like 30 versus 7 billion tonight that might think it's possible that there is another thing behind the matrix. And what if that 30 people might have touched a clue? I don't know what you're touching in your mind. I know what I'm trying to say to you. I don't have the valid perception that I know what you're thinking. What if you could touch that part of your mind that saw truth? How things really worked. Because they don't work this way. You can't have something, a result, being there before this course was there. That is not a truth. But our foundation of science and our foundation of religious view in the Western world in particular is based on this idea, and we buy it. And then we're prepared to give lots of exceptions for why things don't work. And as long as we live that, we may as well put blindfolds on and walk on Fifth Avenue. So Mr. Shantideva, in his suit and tie, Master Shantideva was saying these words, was freaking people out in 700 AD who had a set view of how things came, what things were, how they were caused, how they came to be. He was also refuting Buddhist schools who believed results were self-existent, like the karma question you just asked me. If I do these karmas, if I go, oh, bing bing, bong bong, I'm going to get enlightened. Does bing bing, bong bong get you enlightened?
Depends what you're bing bing and bong bong.
Yeah. It really depends, truly, what's in your mind, the karma you're planting, the motivation you're doing as you're doing bing bing, bong bong. And if you understand that impulse you're putting on bing bing bong bong, it can get you enlightened. But if you're bing bing bong bonging because the girl next door is looking nice and she's been doing bing bing bong bong, you're going to get that as a result. Self-awareness and awkwardness from bing bing bong bong, because bing bing bong bong is empty of having a nature of its own. It doesn't produce. This doesn't produce enlightenment. This doesn't produce enlightenment. Karma, the movement of your mind, is 90 something. The grand majority is your intention, the impulse, and you know your mind. You know when you've been cruel, and you know if you get a gross tool like a knife to go, okay, this was dark and this was light, and that's in my heart, and I'm growing it as I roll through life in your mind, doing the stuff out there. You are projecting your world through the things you've done in your world. It's an inside-out way of living the world. 30 versus 7 billion. You can go to an office and work your ass off and earn the money and compete for the position and get all the thing, but it's not changed for 2,000 years. Now we do it in offices and suit and ties. We used to do it in other ways. People are desperately trying to get happy, and because we all agree that we sort of have it right, it might be the Big Bang or it might be the guy with the beard, but I'm not asking too many questions, I'm going to continue doing what everyone else is doing, and then you've got to figure it out. That's what Buddha did. He's like, I've got to figure it out. So he figured it out. And then he was like, I don't even know if I can tell you. People asked him, please teach. He's like, I'm not even sure you'll get it. Please teach. He waited before he taught. Because how do you get an insight of the ultimate? If you got to see through the fabric of the matrix, you understood really what caused things. You saw that it was inside out, upside down compared to the world we live in. And then the dog is going, "Can I please see a pen? Show me how to see pen." You're like, "You just see chewable toy, dude. Show me pen." The dog is begging, "Show me pen." We're like, wow, woof, woof. How do you show a dog how to use a pen?
But at least the dog has the karma to know that it's a pen versus a chew toy now.
Yeah. True. Cool. So he was also refuting Buddhist schools who thought things were self-existent. Yeah? So he's talking about the 3 lower schools. The implication, it's in the word of Tibetan, which I didn't put up here, is that things can't also stop through a nature of their own. They don't self-existently stop. There's no samsara from its own side that you're stuck in without your projection of it being samsara. Are you with me?
Yes.
The implication in that is that you have a choice to affect whether things stop. And things are stopping, okay? This is the verse he puts up. I'm going to go through. Is that okay, or do you need a toilet break? Toilet break, go yay. Cool, here we go. So, to finalize the results of ending, the results and ending, so the proof that results are empty and endings are empties, he says, consider a sprout. It cannot grow in any nature of its own because it neither can grow, blah, 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 blah. You got this? Have a read. And this is my thing. We try all sorts of different ways. So how do you use this idea of the emptiness and the pen and the sprout and the rest? Like I said before, we think money's going to do it. We think if I just find the right causes and conditions to find that relationship, I'm going to get happy. We fight for that. We live our lives like that. We look for self-existent things that will get us looking right for the relationship. Saying just the right thing to her and him for the relationship. Looking at them, like, hi. Hello, legs.
Hey, quick question. If something doesn't exist, how can it have any nature at all? A thing which does not exist and which has a nature of its own ever. What? If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist.
Consider them a sprout. It cannot grow through any nature of its own because it neither can do that nor it can do that. It doesn't. It's saying it doesn't.
Isn't this back to the changing and unchanging thing? If something is unchanging, therefore, meaning it has its own self-existence, it can't change. So
Correct.
it can't grow. So it's saying the same thing.
Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. My spiel is that he was using all these metaphors, but how do you use it? Master Shantideva towards the end is getting, how do you use it? You want fame, you want attention, you want people to pay attention to you. The ways you're moving around atoms on the planet, desks, clothes, relationships, isn't work. Haven't you figured it out? It's not working. Like, it really isn't working. I'm not. If it worked, it would work all the time, right? So, is it working?
Yeah.
Does it sometimes work?
Yes.
So does that mean it's working?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So does that mean it's the cause?
No.
No. You got lucky. Or did you?
You created it.
You created it, but you didn't even know. Because we can't make that thing. So this is where it gets, well, he floated off, so here we go. Is it possible that you could have listened to this entire thing and sat there in a blissful state going, oh my goodness, I think I just figured it out?
Yes.
Is that a possible thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? From the words we shared here tonight.
No.
Is it possible that, good. Is it possible that from listening to words, a being could perceive themselves as, oh my God, I think I just figured it out?
Not just from the words, no.
From what?
From
Their
what
perception.
its
From
past
their
karma
perception.
Could someone
forces
have a valid
them
perception,
to, yeah.
forced upon them by the past karma, that they were sitting in this room having, oh my goodness?
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
became
Yes.
enlightened. I mean, wouldn't your valid perceptions all be within the context of ultimate reality? Like, wouldn't it not be that you're having valid perceptions of nominal reality and being like, oh, that's what just happened? Like, if you became enlightened, you'd be like, oh.
I'm not
this
saying
was the
become
cause.
enlightened, I'm saying a being could have a cessation of doubt or I'm saying they could have a valid perception that they think they just figured it out. Like just a step forward on the path, a realization. Yeah? It is possible, right? Is it possible then that a being could make contact with one of these beings they make tankas out of? An angelic being spoke in their ear and they weren't crazy. Yeah, they weren't crazy. Is it possible they go, oh my God, those words that I just heard, deja vu or whatever, and it just meant all these domino effects of meaning? Is that possible? Yeah. Is that coming from the words?
No.
No. So could there be a tantric deity sitting next to you right now having one of those experiences? Is that a possibility from their own mind?
Yes.
And is it possible that you can't see it?
Yes.
Why?
Because you don't have the karma to see it.
Because if you don't have the karma, like the dog don't have the karma, right? To see that experience, does that make that experience not true?
No.
Not true for them, right? But
Right.
true for them. Yeah?
No.
Does it mean it's not a possibility?
No.
So the question becomes, is it possible to turn around a samsaric downward spiral? Is it possible to turn that around and have a valid perception, uncontrived, like, oh my God, I just figured it out, I think. Is that possible?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it possible in a human lifetime to have that all the way through to awakening?
Yes.
We
Apparently.
can extrapolate, apparently, right? Yeah. Do you know how long that will take? We wouldn't, right? If the current causes that pushed you into this world are slowly disintegrating, like everything else does here, like whose body is not disintegrating, please put up your hand.
Then it's kind of like growing.
Whose body in the next 100 years will stay here? Let's have a look. Okay. Before that time, how long before that time do you have to figure it out?
You don't know.
You don't know, right? But is it possible?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it possible that beings around you have done it and you can't tell?
Yes.
Yeah. But I've never seen them.
Of course.
Of course, right? That makes sense, right? Of course you haven't. Never seen a pen. Those weird things you call pen. Never seen one. I only see chewable toys. You guys are crazy. Computer, it's a pee-pad. You guys are crazy.
What's water?
What's water? Yeah. The point is, all the things that we are invested in, pushing around this world, is actually most of the time getting us the opposite. To get money, I push people away, or I try really hard not to give the wrong impression. Okay, because I know the path now, but I need to give them some kind of impression because everybody here agrees. So I'm like, I can help you with this. I'm like, I can't help them with it. That's happening in your mind. Those are karmas, those are impressions, those are the result of your life. So then if you don't know how long you've got before you got to figure it out, that you believe it's possible for you to figure out, that there is a different way of perceiving and a way of viewing and experiencing the world that is functional and complete, yeah? But you don't quite know how long you've got And what do you do?
Prepare for that.
Huh?
Prepare for that.
Prepare for your death. Okay. So Master Shantideva starts going about, you guys use this. Your life is like a dream, he says. You know, events are like a dream. If you analyze them, they are just like cane, empty, just empty stuff. Yeah. All your karmas are wearing out. I'm saying, your life is under the power of these other forces. The answer to the question I just prompted you is, you at least know you should give up doing things that hurt and harm others, because you're going to get that result back. This is the beautiful link between morality that is not self-existent, like living an ethical life, ethical to a code that you believe is true. And if you don't know where to begin, the Buddha said, oh, here is some, okay? If you don't want to deteriorate your life force, don't kill beings. If you want to improve your life force, take care of sentient creatures. Not so bad. That will be the cause for, because you will perceive yourself taking care of creatures that want to live. You'll have that perception. Do they live self-existently?
No.
Does that self-existently always produce that result? No. It requires you to have that intention. It requires the perceiver. It's your mind having the kindness. You're coding your awareness. You are literally coding your future like a computer program, but on flesh and mind.
I was just thinking about all this today. The 8 worldly concerns.
So the short answer is what 8 worldly thoughts. But in reality, he then also, you take your pick. You can do the Praktimoksha vows, the Bodhisattva vows, or this other kind of morality, the Tantric vows. These are codes of ethics that align you, if you understand them, to doing the kind of virtue that is powerful enough to eject you out of the cycle that is so hard to realize we're in. It's not fun and games. You will expire, okay? Like, we're talking about life and death. We're not talking about corn. We use corn to realize that every single thing you put your life working towards must end. So what are you going to invest your energy on? Because you don't know tick tock, how long you've got. So what do you do with it? You've got to do, if you really want a meaningful, joyful, positive experience of life and no surprises, you've got to go to where the coding happens. That's the point of this. So the 6th book, and here is now for something completely different. I thought I'd interject something a little random because I knew we were going to go a little deep and tired. Towards the end of the chapter, there was no reason for that at all. Towards the end of the chapter, Master Shantideva said, I knew it was going to get heavy, so I just enjoyed rainbows, unicorn, and cats.
Had a Monty moment?
Yeah, no, he was. Towards the end of the chapter, Master Shantideva throws a little wobbly at us, and he says, Si Shi Nyampa, which means Nirvana, Si, Shi, no, Samsara, Si, Nirvana, Shi, Nyampa, equivalent. They're exactly the same. So he's saying to have a life in Nirvana, to have a life in Samsara, meaning cycles of suffering and complete mental bliss, he says exactly the same. And I thought it was important to bring it up because we have some screwed up Western concepts to go, slash me with a knife or give me ice cream, it's all the same. If I'm a good Buddhist, I'll endure it. And it's not that, okay? That's not what he means. What's he mean?
Does it mean they both come from causes?
Say that again?
Does it mean they both come from causes?
Try again? They're both empty of having a nature of their own. Real nirvana, meaning regular nirvana, or nirvana, the karma that watches your own mind have freedom from pain, permanently, and samsara, the cycle of turning in ups and downs of life, both have no nature to be that way without you experiencing it that way. It's your mind in there. In there, in where? It's your mind. Both are the same insofar as that they have natural nirvana. Remember natural nirvana? It's a code name for everything is empty. Yeah, it's not really nirvana. It means natural nirvana is things don't have a nature. Samsara, the cycle of life, the cause and effect, and the bumps you have along the road, all your relationship breakups, all your happy, joyful moments, all the best bliss you've ever had, food, sex, drugs, all the goodnesses you've ever enjoyed, all the badnesses you've ever enjoyed, and all the changing in between has no nature of being that way without your mind producing it that way. You place the causes there. Nirvana's the same. There ain't no nirvana that's waiting for you in some mystical place. You're going to project it from your heart. Is it easy? You have to put in a huge injection of virtue. You know, Buddhahood is no different, by the way. Buddhahood being beyond nirvana, if you like. Buddhahood is a changing place. The mind of a Buddha is experiencing change. They've just experienced, they just managed to figure out how to do a fusion for virtue. The ultimate virtue, the ultimate goodness, which is to have a complete blissful existence and project your goodness to every world, to have a state of Buddhahood. Right? How do you keep that going? Is that every goodness they experience, they self-perpetuate instantly. As soon as they get it, they give it away with emptiness, giving it power, stronger than, more comes out than went in. So they're in a spiraling up experience of goodness, of virtue. They're in a virtue fusion machine produced by themselves. So that might be a homework question. Finally, the 3 elements, Master Shantideva says, you need to put this in use in your life. He says all this talk about emptiness has to serve you for something. And he goes back to the subject of all the other things, your mental afflictions. Right? He says, if you understand emptiness like we've been discussing, there's no stuff out there that has a nature of its own, forcing it, imposing that nature on everyone equally. There's no mental state that you could ever have that is like that from its own side, forcing itself upon you. You are a participant of that. You produced it. It changes. You can choose the direction of its change. There's no causation. Things don't have to necessarily cause things the way you perceive them currently. At some point, no amount of corn in the ground will produce corn. And there's no results that come from it. And there's no stopping that comes from their own side. All of it is in you. And then he says, if you've got that, you now have no ground. You're floating, yeah? Or falling, depending on how scared you are. He says, use it for your mental afflictions, because if you get rid of them, then you're flying. So he chose, let's choose jealousy, yeah? Is that jealousy? Yeah, let's use jealousy. Or envy, or you pick your own mental affliction, because this applies to everything. He says, if you now understand, or you buy into as slightly as you can, or as big as you can, the idea that things don't have a nature, that your way of being towards everything is what will produce your existence, including nirvana, then you must remember these 3 things. The object towards which you are afflicted, so let's say we pick jealousy. She made me jealous, right? We think she made me jealous because I think she exists that way. She's a little bitch, right? She stole my boyfriend. She did it, yeah? That's got the elephant all over it, self-existence, yeah? And I'm like this, yeah? I am this particular way. I'm a nice girl. Why doesn't he pay attention to me? Yeah? I'm full of self-existence, idea that if he saw how good I was, he would like me. Yeah? And then the act of jealousy itself, the whole causation and resulting. If you remember that these things are not self-existent, you will get free of samsara. He's saying, remember these three things. We discussed emptiness in all sorts of ways, in deep nooks and crannies. But he's saying to apply it, find your mental afflictions, all of them, yeah, and apply the antidote. Remember that they are not self-existent, that they don't have a nature of their own. They're empty of having that nature. That's what the metaphor of the diamond is. And you could just flip, because it's just your perception. It's forced upon you. You can't control it in the moment, but you can, meaning I can't choose not to be jealous right now. But if I remember emptiness, I'm not self-existent, she's not self-existent, this whole act isn't self-existent. If nothing else, it freezes the auto reaction. And eventually you get to see beauty where you had jealousy. You get to find wisdom. It's the advertising TED Talk story.
Is that also called the three doors?
The three spheres, I think it's called. Three. Yeah. And finally, the one big way of getting, we talked about, imagine being in the room and getting an understanding of emptiness. Yeah, like being able to read this as if it's like a direct letter to your mind that says, I understand it now and I can apply it. People did that in history, like in the Buddha's time, Master Shantideva's time. It is possible for you to have a visceral, direct experience of this philosophy and then begin to live this view and understand how it's functional and how it's complete. But the strongest method, and get this, yeah, is to ask for blessings. I know it sounds weirdly religious, okay? But see if you can understand it through the lens of emptiness and karma. If you believe that it is possible for human consciousness to evolve to the highest degree, to the most perfected way consciousness can get, and for argument's sake, I'm calling that an enlightened being, yeah? You can, I don't care what color shape you put on it, but a being that's woke up. If you believe it's possible for minds to do that, then there are minds all around you right now like that. Are they self-existently like that?
No.
Is it possible for them to perceive themselves like that?
Yes.
Yes.
And for us not to see them that way?
Yes.
Does it mean they don't exist?
No.
No. Do you have a conception that they're a possibility?
Yes.
Like a dog might have a conception that it's possible that there might be pens. Okay. Then with that tiny link between you and a perfected mind, with that tiny link, you ask for blessings in your mind. May I understand this? May I use it to serve the planet? Will it self-existently produce that result?
No.
How does it work?
It's your intention.
Your intention, with logic, with valid perception. You just use logic to say there is a perfected mind. A perfected mind can see everything. A perfected mind has insight. A perfected mind has all things. I'm asking for blessings. Your intention to connect with that mind colors your mind with that mind, because you're having a perception of it. And karma grows. Every seed plants becomes a big thing somehow. In your mind, you are generating blessings by groveling for. They can't help you from their own side self-existently. And if they could, they wouldn't want you to grovel. But Lama Tsongkhapa spent half his life begging for blessings, and then wrote the most incredible things. So here is a few characters that you might think have achieved that state, and you might ask for blessings. And then you might experience, this is Pabongka Rinpoche, yeah, taught in the 1920s, passed in the 1940s. in our lineage, Trijang Rinpoche, tutor of the 14th Dalai Lama, teacher of our teacher's teacher. Yeah, Holy Ken Rinpoche. Because some of you got to meet him. When you think of them, when you think of your heart teacher, the beings that have taught you these ideas, and you make it as real as you can in your mind, to say, whatever the words are, may it be Tibetan or Sanskrit, may it appear in a letter, please bless my mind, please help me. And then you must have the result of that request. Yeah? In the Gelugpa tradition, we have this awesome thing called the lineage tree, and that's every single teacher in our lineage, including Lama Tsongkhapa in the middle, Rinpoche, and the rest. So they say spend about the same time groveling for what you want, as well as making efforts to what you want. Because if it is a projection forced upon you by your past karma, then you should do a ton of hard work, as well as physical moving around atoms that don't exist anyway, to get what you want. Hence the idea of retreat, hence the idea of meditation. Get your mind in the strongest possible way. So, talking about inviting lamas to bless you. Lama John, who just finished 3 years in retreat, is coming for a visit to New York to teach a secret group next week. And I begged him, could he teach here next Thursday instead of my class? And he agreed, yeah? So you're all invited. He's an amazing practitioner for a very, very long time. Finished a 3-year retreat, and I invite you to invite whoever you want to bring. It'll be a packed house, and it's sort of Q&A and insight into how to live a life of practice. So I hope you enjoy him next week. So let's make an offering and dedication of what we learned. Sorry I didn't get to answer questions, but I wanted to get through content, and I want you to sit with the stuff we talked about. Happy and open for questions after.
Sashi
Ukirishim Metotam Grivalinshim Padi Sangye Shindu Miteruagi Drodunamda Shingla Jipasho Idam Guru Ragna Mandala Kamniyatayami Gewadi Yoku Sanam Yeshe Satsokshim Sanam Yeshe
Thank you so much for coming. I apologize if I couldn't transmit it in the way that it was intended, and I hope you got something that you can grow.
Thank you for teaching.
Please stay.
Thank you. Okay. Let's debate for those that want to.
Do you want to keep this on?
No, that can finish.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.